Have to. Involves pigeon poop.
Yeah.
Should we talk with our hands be short?
Maybe I should sit up.
Good evening, everyone. I'll call the regular meeting of the Peace River Town Council, July 24th, meeting to order at 5 p.m. We have the agenda in front of us. Are there any additions or deletions?
None, so your worship, thank you.
Thank you. Would someone bring forth the motion? Get the mirror?
Actually, I do have one question
No.
of administration. I'm just curious as to why the council remuneration policy is number 8 under new business when we've discussed it at like 4 previous council meetings. Would it be considered old business, or why is it where it is? Just a question.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So the way that I use old business is if it's for when agendas are not completed at the meeting they're supposed to be completed. So for example, when you have like a meeting that goes longer than 3 hours and council decides they don't want to continue, they just want to put the agenda and the remainder of the items over to the next meeting, then I would list those there. Or for some reason you couldn't come to a conclusion of an item with, you don't end it with a motion, it would come forward at the next meeting for you to talk about as old business. But because you made a determination at that meeting and made a motion directing, then I listed as new business.
Thank you. Your worship, I put a motion on the floor that council adopt the agenda of July 24th, 2023, the regular council meeting as presented.
Thank you. All those in favor? Okay, it is carried. We now have the July 10th regular council meeting minutes in front of us. Did anybody notice any edits to those minutes? I have just a minor one, but
Go ahead.
the minor one is staff present. We just need Alicia's last name. That's all I noticed. Minor.
I'll move the minutes as amended.
Okay, all those in favor? It is carried. Public hearings, we don't have any. However, we do have a presentation from the public library system with Louisa Robinson, and the CEO of the Peace Library System. So Louisa, if you just come up and you turn on the mic so it stays on, and we might have some questions at the end, or we'll see. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Hi, good evening. My name is Louisa Robinson, no N in the middle, Robison, and I'm the CEO for Peace Library System in Grand Prairie. Peace Library System is the system that supports libraries in the Peace region. There are 46 member libraries in 37 municipalities and 1 Métis settlement, and 36 school libraries as well. We are headquartered in Grand Prairie with a staff of 18, all specializing in library work, computer systems, and logistics. What I'd like to talk about today is a return on investment. And now I'm not saying that we deliver an actual $750,000 to your community, but it's in cost avoidance. In 2022, the town of Peace River experienced a return on investment of about $12.27 for every dollar spent. And I'm going to take you through each of these areas to show you how we got to this figure. The population figures that are used are from the Municipal Affairs Population Estimates, and that is with that's what's instructed in our member master agreement. It's the one we use to bill on, and it's the one in the master agreement signed between municipalities and the system board. Based on the population figure, the town of Peace River was billed at $6.37 per capita, which is our current membership fee, for a total of $42,742.40. This is membership fee to the system and is used to provide library services to the Peace River Library, such as ordering and cataloging, processing, delivery, interlibrary transfer, interlibrary loan, as well as consulting services with professional librarians on staff at PLS. Based on that same population figure, the library board was billed $18,452.50, or $2.75 per capita. 50 cents of that per capita billing is earmarked for purchasing e-resources such as databases and ebooks, digital magazines, digital music, and such. The rest is put into an account for the library staff to use when buying resources at the library. That makes a total of $61,195.20 for the 2022 year, out of which $16,233.75 is set aside directly for library purchases. Now, modern libraries require a lot of technology to function, and technology and support is very expensive. I'm sorry.
That's just the echo from that broadcast.
Peace Library System and the consortium we belong to, which is called TRAC, or the Regional Automation Consortium, functions as the IT support system for member libraries on call and free to use. A retail support contract for an independent system to run a library would cost upwards of about $30,000 per year. But in order to manage a library system, even an out-of-the-box open source one like, say, Evergreen would cost an actual IT support person and a programmer at a cost of over $200,000 for salary and benefits. Incidentally, the cost of the Polaris system, which is shared among the 4 library systems in TRAC and which Peace Library, the Peace River Library uses, costs about $350,000 per year, not including the IT management involved at each system level. Another benefit of being part of PLS is that we host the library's web presence, and we maintain and make changes as needed. Retail web hosting service, and this is just the ability to put a page on the internet, no coding or special plugins, runs about $5,000 per year. As a member of Peace Library System and as a library in Alberta, your library is entitled to use the Alberta SuperNet. The cost for that is covered by the province, but it's administered through the system. And the actual cost of the SuperNet for the library is about $850 a year. If the library had to pay a retail provider, the cost for that would be upward of $25,000 a year in order to be able to handle that kind of traffic. And they would not be connected to the shared library software, the resources provided by the libraries to the province, or the interlibrary loan system. Resource sharing is really the reason that both we and the libraries exist. And being a part of the Peace Library System means that your library can take part in the benefits of the interlibrary loan system. And that means that your citizens have access to the entirety of the holdings of the libraries across Alberta without ever having to leave Peace River. It means that the residents of Peace River have access to so much more than just what's on the shelves in the library here. And in fact, in 2022, residents of Peace River borrowed 11,360 items that came from other libraries across the province and across Canada. If the library had had to buy them to satisfy the patron request, it would have cost over $278,000. And you would need a bigger building because there's no way you'd be able to house all that. Now, nobody's saying that you would spend $278,000 to buy those books, but the fact is you don't have to, because the small amount of money that you do pay to access the system means you have access to almost $300,000 worth of resources without having to pay for it. Peace Library System manages access to a number of electronic resources and databases. 2 of them are Overdrive and Cloud Library, which have ebooks, e-audiobooks, and e-magazines. In 2022, Peace River Library patrons borrowed 7,084 digital books, which, if bought by the library, would have cost over $400,000. Sharing agreements that Peace maintains with our consortia partners and with the 5th Alberta Library System, that's Parkland System, provide access to over $1 million worth of shared e-content at no additional charge to the library, to the town, or to the patron. And of course, taking advantage of the economics of scale, Peace has negotiated bulk discounts with the larger book vendors. On average, that discount comes out to about 38% off of retail price on books and about 30% off of non-print items like DVDs and CDs. And the discount that we get on purchasing in bulk is then passed on to the libraries. As a result of that discount, the Peace River Library saved about $16,000 on purchasing last year, which could be rolled back in purchasing more resources. And as well, Peace Library System purchases a number of resources for member libraries to borrow and use. We put together book blocks of popular items such as Western Storytime Kids activity kits for programming. And all of these are available to all the member libraries at no cost, simply to be borrowed and returned and shared among the members. This is the cost savings for libraries so that they can provide a variety of programming topics without having to purchase resources for them. Peace Library System runs a number of professional development events throughout the year, specifically for library staff, on how to use the resources and how to teach patrons to use the resources that we provide, as well as topics relevant to working in libraries. One we recently acquired was a training on working with unhoused populations. PLS also employs specialists, libraries with master's degrees in library science for consulting purposes that library managers have access to get their help, their expertise, whenever they need help or to know what the best practice is or how legislation applies. And in the fall, PLS provides ready-made marketing materials for our libraries who wish to use them, all customizable so that each library's name and logo and social media ready. And in addition, in 2022, all the Alberta library systems together created materials for distribution that libraries could use to talk to political candidates ahead of the provincial budget. In addition to talking points to be used when talking to political candidates ahead of the 2023 election. And all of these benefits are provided to member libraries, and that's included in their membership. So quickly, what we provide as a service to our members is broken down into 4 topics. We share the library collections, we share IT services and support, we provide access to any number of resources, and we have training and programs available for all library staff to use. So membership in the Peace Library System really is an excellent benefit to your library. It gives you way more benefit than what you actually pay for. And we look forward to many more years in our partnership. Peace River Library was one of the founders of the Peace Library System. Are there any questions?
Lisa's a fast talker.
Sorry. I only had 10 minutes.
You did very well. Well, I know personally that since, let's say, the Edmonton Journal quit being delivered to Peace River, it was my thought process then to get a library membership so I could traipse down to the library and they set me up with the press maker. So now instead of taking, I don't know, half an hour to read the paper, I spend maybe, depending on the day, an hour to 2 because I'm looking at the paper and I'm looking at a few other things as well on that press reader. So in my personal thing, I'm saving a great deal of money just by doing that, but that's me. I understand too, Peace Library System, they go up to Paddle Prairie, is it?
Paddle Prairie, Manning, High Level, Rainbow Lake,
And then east over.
Bear Canyon, or Meadow Simons, west to Slave Lake and south all the way to Grand Cache.
Yeah.
We are the largest geographical area library system in the province with the second smallest population. And since all funding is based on population, you can see where that might be a conflict.
Yeah. So I know the library system has a bit of a courier service that helps to deliver things out from Grand Prairie or between libraries too, I would imagine, depending on situation. So it's definitely an organization that is, I think, well used, and there's a school aspect to it at times too, right?
School libraries can become contract members, they cannot become full members just because of the way our member agreement is set up. But we do offer services to schools in that we can also order and use those economies of scale to get good prices on their books and catalog and then send them all out the resources and the records so that they can be installed in their local libraries and in their local library, school library computers.
Yeah. Counselors, though, questions? Any comments? Okay, well, thank you very much for coming north today. And we look forward to the library systems service to our residents and local library as well in the future. And we certainly enjoyed our past experiences with Peace Library System. I think in terms of just the quantity of materials that anybody can go into the library and have access to. It would not be reasonable for each of our 6,700 residents to expect any, what am I saying here? They would not get that access on the personal dime, put it that way. No, yeah. So thank you very much. And best wishes on your travels to and fro. Thank you. Okay, we're gonna have a little echoing happening here. Okay, the next one, we have bylaws and we have an amendment to the traffic and streets bylaw number 1746 and amending bylaws 1766 and 2112. Acting Director Modi is leading through this.
Good evening. Yes, I'm here for a fairly simple change to our traffic and streets bylaw and the corresponding change to our encroachment policy. So in 2022, we worked on updating our encroachment policy to provide administration with some additional clarity for how we deal with encroachments and when we say yes and when we say no. And when we created that policy, we accidentally created a bit of a hole where we don't have a full and clear authority with respect to road right of ways that don't fall within the definition that's referred to within our encroachment policy, but is verbatim from the Traffic Safety Act, which is provincial legislation. So we want to add that policy or that language to both the encroachment policy and also the traffic and streets bylaw to just close that loophole. Town of Peace River is unique, has lots of unique bends and corners, and sometimes we have some very odd situations. We just have to make sure that our policy applies. So we're not changing how we're dealing with encroachments on public land, but simply making sure that this type of public land is also captured within the policy very clearly. So for the traffic and streets bylaw, we have drafted an amending bylaw that adds a road right-of-way definition and then updates certain clauses to just refer to that specific definition as well within the list of lands that it captures to give us the authority where needed. So we're asking council to provide 3 readings to the bylaw, which can all be provided in one go because it's that type of bylaw that does not require a public hearing. I can take any questions that you might have.
So this or the need for the addition is it correct that if there's a road and it's used as a road, it's constructed as a road, that's already included. But if there could be a road there, but it's not constructed, then that's the situation that we're trying to address.
Yes, and in particular where that land isn't immediately adjacent to a constructed road.
Okay, good. Any questions at the moment? Councilor Carr?
Could you give an example of where that would be in town?
There is currently an area, actually, the easiest thing for me to do is just point to the picture. I'll just pull up our web map, but there is land in the Kaufman Hill area in particular where the land is a little bit not adjacent. This would be an example where, I mean, the road does at the ends is adjacent, but the length of it, of the road right of way is adjacent to private property. So we just want to make sure that we're within our rights to do any enforcement and take any necessary actions. That's one example.
Okay.
Any other questions? Would someone be prepared to move us along?
Well, Okay, I'll move that council give first reading to bylaw number 2139, amending bylaws number 1746, 1766, and 2112 as presented.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? It is carried. Perhaps somebody would like to move second. Councillor Good,
I'll move second reading to bylaw 2139.
thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor? It is carried. So we move to third reading. Is in the place order.
Motion on the floor, your worship, to allow bylaw 2139 to proceed to third reading.
Okay, all those in favor? It's carried. Someone would like to make another motion here.
I'll move that council give third reading to bylaw number 2139, amending bylaws number 1746, 1766, and 2112 as presented.
Thank you. Any further discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor? It is carried. Thank you very much, Ms. Modi. Next up then is that, oh, do we have something else to do?
The policy is the next thing on the
Oh.
agenda.
Okay. Well, that's why you're staying there. Unfinished business, we don't have any. So new business amendment to the encroachment policy P 6196A. And again, Ms. Modi.
Yes, I won't go over it again. I'll just say that the policy is attached. I believe the additions are in red. I printed off a black and white version. But we added the road right of way definition and then references to it in the appropriate places within the policy. And that is the only change to the policy to provide the same effect that I just described with the bylaw.
Thank you. Any further questions on this matter before we have a motion? Someone be prepared to put forward the motion. Councillor Good,
I'll move that council approve the amended encroachment policy as presented.
thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor? It is carried. Thank you, Ms. Modi. Okay, next up, we have Pride Society Grant to Organization application with Director Bell. Um,
Thank you, your worship. Feel like we get zapped. The report before council this evening. Reading glasses, sorry, is in regards to the Peace River Pride Society's application to the council grants to organizations. This is the fourth application that council will be reviewing in regards to the first intake of that grant program. The annual budget for the council grants is $35,000 for 2023. And to date, council has awarded to the Peace River Art Club, Peace River Boating Association, and Underground Music Society. The application before you this evening is the Pride Society's request under the Recreation and Sport Development category. This particular category, though we have not seen as many to date, the application should enhance development of initiatives that support healthy living through strategies, programs, and activities. This is the category within the council grant policy. The Pride Society are requesting funding for a new initiative as per the policy, which addresses a need that they've identified within the community for LGBTQ+ members to feel safe to access recreational opportunities. We did receive a quick update from the organization on an event that they held, one of the four that they held in July. On July 15th, they had 10 participants. The feedback provided to administration was that 2 members expressed not feeling comfortable due to their LGBTQ+ identity coming to regular public swimming. One individual had identified they had not swam for over 5 years due to feeling unsafe in a public environment. So just some additional feedback for council. The first option presented to council is to award the $1,000 request to the Pride Society. As stated, there are some advantages in regards to supporting a new initiative in the community. Disadvantage to this particular option is that the Pride Society is limited to the members, and their current membership have access to these new initiatives, this new events. Option 2 is for council to provide direction in the amount awarded for the applicant, which allows council some direction on how they'd like to award the applicant. And the disadvantage of this particular option, is the evaluation criteria does not have a sort of a minimum where an organization would be not offered any support whatsoever, but that does give council the opportunity to adjust their award if they so choose. And present per council's direction.
Okay, so councillors, we've had a look at this in the past. Councillor Shannon and Deputy Mayor.
I have a problem with this one only for the reason that it is not open, it's only open to membership. And the Underground Music Society, we had decided that we would only help them with one event, and then they would, they're charging admission. So I would be willing to make a motion to give them one event. Like, I think it was what, 250? And then perhaps they could charge for the other one the same as the Underground Music Society, because they scored quite a bit less than the evaluation B. And if it's a closed to membership only, I would rather, see them kind of getting the same as Underground Music, help them for one, help them to get off their feet, and then they could charge their membership $5 or whatever that may be. But I don't feel comfortable giving the whole amount when the one right above them is scored higher, and we decided only to give them partial. That's all I have on that one.
Did you make a motion, or?
I said I'd be willing to make a motion. I just want to, get some discussion.
Okay, so the motion isn't quite there yet.
Yeah,
where it
I
is.
understand.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor, you.
Yeah, I just want to go back to the presentation really quick that we heard. Now, didn't the presenters say that they had room for up to 50 people at the event?
I believe so, yes. Yeah.
And the event that they've already held, there was only 10 participants.
Correct. Yeah, for their July 15th. Yeah.
Councillor Good.
Again, this is from their presentation, my understanding of it, I could be incorrect. My understanding was that I didn't remember saying that it's a requirement that you be a member of the Pride Society. I do remember saying a requirement that you would agree to to some extent, not being uncomfortable with the circumstances that they find comfortable, that the members find comfortable. For example, if you had a problem with transgender people in one change room or another, you're not agreeing to that situation, but if you weren't uncomfortable with it, you could kind of have at her. So am I correct? And I'd like to know it, because my understanding is it wasn't really restricted to the membership. It was more restrictive to comfort level and accommodation and willingness to accommodate, which would allow people who were not members of the Pride Society to go if they didn't have any issue with what was going on. In other words, you don't have an issue with me being here, I don't have an issue with you being there, whatever. So, and I think it was in the original presentation, I'm fairly clear.
I mean, you have to be a member, you have to be a member, but it's free to be a member, and
That's
then
correct.
members can bring guests.
That's correct.
Okay,
Yes,
so
yeah.
you come in as a guest, so the public
So
come in as a guest.
You could come in as a guest of a member, or you can apply for membership. I think you get a Timmy's gift card if you apply to be a member too, so it's actually, you're kind of put ahead.
Yeah, my understanding that membership is broadly open to the community,
Okay,
but that is, I think both of your comments are coming together, because the attempt is, if you're a member of the Pride Society or a guest of the Pride Society, you're sort of meeting some of the pre-components that are being asked to keep the event safe for those who are participating.
I would be okay with the whole thing, in that, interestingly enough, all of the money that they would be getting would actually stay with us. It would basically move some dollars on one side of a ledger in the town to another side of a ledger in the town, so it's, you know, in a way, in a bit of a roundabout sort of way, it's kind of all keeping with us anyways, and, having a start out with 10, it would be interesting to see at subsequent events if it's something that does build some momentum, so. I do appreciate the idea of having an event that they, you know, in them having the pool book to say like, this is sort of our, you know, our cultural norms that we're gonna abide by at this time. And it did seem fairly open in terms of who could attend, and I know it's not as open as any other thing, but there was also, I believe, no charge for people to go either.
That's my understanding.
So it's, on one hand, it is a little bit restrictive in that you have to be a member. On the other hand, it is very open in terms of, if you want to attend, you can either go as a guest, as a member at no charge, and then attend at no charge. That's kind of where my mind is going towards on that one.
Thank you. Any further comments? Councillor Carr?
I had a couple issues with this proposal, and that they had indicated during their presentation that they had one of these events in the past, and I understood it was quite successful. So I'm surprised they've only had 10 of the last people attend the last one, which tells me that this is more of a want than a need. And I would prefer to hang on to the monies that we have in this for maybe more broad ranging groups. Not that I'm not saying they're a good group, but they seem to be able to run their events without our funding. Whereas a lot of other organizations may not be able to. Secondly, and just as a side note, I had a call today from a member of the Pride Association, expressing that he was very disappointed that they would ask for this for the very reason that I just stated. He said, because we are able to do this thing on our own, he said we should not be asking for tax dollars. So, thank you.
Okay, would someone be prepared to put forth a motion on this matter? Councillor Shannon?
I would move that we award the Peace River Pride Society $250 to hold a swimming event for their membership. That'd be sufficient.
If we could state that it's from the council's grants to organizations program within the
Okay.
motion.
Okay, so the understanding of this is we've got a motion on the floor to award $250 from the grants to organizations to the Pride Society for the events as listed. Just to be clear, if the motion is passed, it's $250. If the motion is defeated, somebody can put another motion on for it. So any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Okay, all those opposed to the motion? Okay, so the motion is defeated. Anything further on this matter?
I'll move for the full 1,000.
Okay, any further discussion on that motion? All those in favor of the motion? All those opposed to that motion? It is defeated. Those are good.
In action, I'll move 500.
Councillor Goods moves to award the Pride Society $500 from the grants to groups organizing or program. So all those in favor of that motion? All those opposed? It is defeated. I don't know how many motions we get to have on unlimited number. Okay, or it is defeated and the matter is closed is the other way of doing it. So are there any further motions on this matter?
I'll move to 300.
Okay, Councillor Good moves $300 from the grants to organizations be awarded to the Pride Society. All those in favor of that motion? All those opposed? It is defeated. I think we've run out of numbers here. So it looks like do we have enough information to know what this decision was, or do we need to say anything further?
I think we, yeah.
We got it, okay. Okay, so the matter is then closed. Our next item on the agenda is the Peace River Ski Club, the financial request, and Director Bell is speaking to this as well. Thank you.
And I think with the sound system here. Council, the Peace River Ski Club attended a regular meeting of council in June to present a request to council for financial support, specifically a contribution of $40,000 to address their outstanding CEBA loan, the Canada Emergency Business Account. This particular loan, it was available to other businesses and nonprofits during COVID. They were provided upwards of $60,000, 20 of it in a grant, 40 in loan. If you did not repay the loan amount as of a certain date, December 31st, 2023, in this particular case, you had to provide provision of repayment at a 5% interest rate. They will enjoy a $20,000 forgiveness if they're able to address this loan by that date. So there's a substantive contribution to the club that they would like to maintain. Town grant programs do not include provisions for this type of requests. Therefore, council has to address this in different ways to assist organizations with these types of financial situations. You have the option of loans, a loan guarantee, or a direct financial contribution. In our particular case, it would be from reserve, and we do so through essentially a grant. It's granted to the organization, a direct financial contribution. The town has assisted organizations in the past. We have a number of different circumstances where we've done loans, loan guarantees. We've even provided some debt repayments in some circumstances and situations. Anytime the municipality has to or is being requested to provide a financial commitment other than through a direct grant, it must be done by bylaw. Whether it's a loan or a loan guarantee, we are required by the MGA to follow the process under the development of a bylaw. We're making some assumptions when we bring forward this request. So there's been some scuttle in generally in the media and the public in some places that maybe the CEBA loan might be extended. The federal government might make some extensions. We have not had that information to date. So we're making the assumption that the conditions are as we understand them today. The loan needs to be repaid by December 31st, 2023 for the organization to maintain their $20,000 grant and not have to look at repayment of the full amount at a 5% interest rate. So the options before council are lengthy. We've provided you with 4 options. You may choose even a 5th one. Option 1 is providing a contribution of a financial contribution of $40,000 directly to the club. This would have to be funded through general operating reserve. We can discuss the benefits of the ski hill at length. I have not included a lot of them in the report because every organization presented to you has a benefit to the community in one avenue or another. The ski hill is by no doubt a very important recreational and regional benefit to the community and to the area. So the option 1 does provide the ski club with a positive financial position to start the winter operations. The disadvantage is there's potential for perceived setting of a precedent that we're sort of bailing out an organization in their financial situation. Implications would be as noted, from the reserve. Your reserve levels are not at their optimum, conditions at this point, so continuing to pull finances from reserves is not, again, an optimum situation. It doesn't put the town in a positive, for our own financial situation. Town council's second option is to look at an interest-free loan in the amount of $40,000. Again, this would have to be done by bylaw, but you can put in place an interest-free loan, which does in turn assist the financial situation of the ski club, puts them in that positive position, but there is some accountability on their organization for the repayment of that loan. Having it interest-free also is a benefit to the club, so therefore it's not compounding on that organization. The 40,000 would have to come from reserve initially, as with all of our options, because the funds have to come somewhere. But the loan itself, we would set up terms and conditions with the organization, but it needs to be set by bylaw. Option 3 is providing a grant. So it's a combination of option 1 and 2. Maybe you provide half of the amount in a grant or a direct financial contribution, and the other half of the funds that are needed are by bylaw through by loan through a bylaw. Sort of the option related to, or sort of the advantages related to this option is it's a bit of both worlds. You're contributing financially to the organization, but they're also then accountable for some of their financial situation. Option 4 is to decline completely. Did I miss option 3? No. Option 4 is to decline to contribute financially in any form to this particular request to the ski club. It's not a great option. It has no impact on our reserves balance, which is advantageous for the town, but does not assist the ski club in being in its attempt at becoming more sustainable operationally as an organization. So administration, after much discussion, makes a recommendation of option 3 for council, that we council agrees to provide a financial contribution of 20,000 and a loan of 20,000. And we also present to you a second motion that directs administration to bring forward the bylaw and also work with the terms and conditions of the said agreement for the ski club.
Thank you. Well, they say you haven't been thinking about possibilities here. Counselors, questions? Yes.
I have one question on the difference between the combination of a grant and a loan compared to a loan. Or, okay. If you have a grant means they don't have to pay back the 20, they gotta pay back 20,000, right?
Right.
If we gave them a loan for 40, they could take 20 of that and pay the town back and only pay it back town 20 and only have a loan for 20, only have the loan for 20,000 balance, correct? They would get the 40. Huh? Just juggling dollars, my math's bad, so I'm asking.
So they need to pay the federal government 40,000. So as soon as we cut them a check for 40,000, whatever format that takes, if council chooses, please dispose the decision.
Okay, 20,000 disappears.
40,000 goes directly to, all 40,000 goes directly to the federal government. So the 20,000, which may be causing some confusion, they've already spent, used, it's gone.
It's the difference between the 40 and the 60 we're talking
That's
about,
correct.
not the 20 and the 40.
Yeah, it's 40,000 left that they have to pay back to the federal government.
And if they don't pay anything until January 7th, say, they have to pay $60,000.
At a 5% interest loan back to the federal government. Yeah.
The only kind of caveat that gives me second thought. One, do I think ski's a wonderful thing? Absolutely. All those kind of things are in there. But when was the last time that Ski Hill had a positive season financially?
COVID. So they're, Yeah.
I'm not worried about any time during COVID, that messed everybody up.
but they were the only organization that benefited from COVID. And I mean that in quite directly frankness. They received, their participation at the Hill was one of the biggest years they've ever had in recent history. And they walked away with a very positive, situation. Because of, there were very few things to do, it was outdoors, it was safer, there was all sorts of, golfing and skiing became the COVID activities. So they had extremely positive year then. But yes, financially, in terms of their operations, it ebbs and flows, both by weather, and public participation. Some of it is due to people's own pocketbooks and costs, whether or not they can afford to attend, whether they can buy passes, so forth and so forth. So there's always Mother Nature really does a number on them quite regularly.
Any further comments, Councillor Carr?
Were we not getting a sustainability review done on the ski hill?
So we're looking at a bit of an initial infrastructure assessment, not in terms of its operations, but the infrastructure first stage.
One other thing too is, did we not give $40,000 or forgive $40,000 to the curling club?
We
Yeah,
have a
so-
loan with them.
Oh, it's a loan.
Yeah, so it's by bylaw right now. So they have an outstanding loan with us and they are, had been working away at it. Yeah. And we have in the past with the sports club, daycare, we initiated a loan, but they didn't need it. There was some forgiveness quite a number of years ago. I'm going to say maybe even over 10 years ago with the daycare, some financial assistance in a situation that they got themselves in at that time. There was some assistance provided by the region, not just the town.
When do you expect you'll have that review of the ski hill done?
Not till October.
And even then, it might not. It'll say what it says, but that just could lead to, well, we need to spend this money in order to, you know, fix things or whatever, right? Not necessarily getting over the 60,000 or the 40,000 hump.
Yeah.
Okay, any further comments? Would anyone like to make a motion on this one?
Okay, I'll move that council provide a grant in the amount of $20,000 to be funded through the general operating reserve to the Peace River Ski Club, conditional on the Peace River Ski Club SEBA loan remaining due on December 31st, 2023. We have to do this in 2 steps, right?
Yes, please.
Okay. Step 1.
Okay, so we've got Councillor Scannahorn's motion for a grant, 20,000. So any further comments on that motion? Okay, all those in favor of that motion? It is carried. Thank you. There's a second suggestion there, and want to bring forward another motion. Deputy Mayor Ford.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll put a motion on the floor that council direct administration to bring forward a bylaw for the provision of an interest-free loan in the amount of $20,000 to the Peace River Ski Club with loan terms and conditions to be drafted by administration via a loan agreement.
Thank you. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor of that motion? Opposed? It is carried. Thank you, and thank you, Director Bell. Okay, next up, we have the rural renewal stream application fee and amendment, and Director Bell.
My paper's on the floor.
Just a question, like we on the screen see the agenda. Is that what people at home are seeing? Because really we can't read it, so we might as well look at anything. You're good. Do they see us, unfortunately? Okay. Okay, just good to know.
Thank you. Ms. Parsons put this wonderful report together for me. Thank you. This particular item is in regards to the rural renewal stream program. Can't read and look up at the same time. I'm learning how to use reading glasses. It's not going well. The Economic Development Committee brought forward a request to council at a previous meeting for a fee of $500 for an application for the new rural renewal program. Since the committee has gotten together and done some further work on this particular new program that the town is putting processes around, we discovered an opportunity to actually scale our application fee a little bit. The intent would be to introduce an application fee for 1 to 4 employees or positions at a rate of $300 for the application, and using the $500 application fee for 5 to 10 positions that a business would be applying on. So we're asking council tonight to approve the amended fee application as presented. So the $300 for the 1 to 4 positions and $500 for applications for 5 to 10 positions.
Your echo.
Ghost in the system.
Yeah. So one application, 1 to 4 employees, you pay $300.
Correct.
5 to 10 is 500, and if it's more than that, well,
Then you're
do some
doing a new application on top of that. Yeah, based on the numbers.
okay. So this has a little bit of budget implication.
Yes, it does. The position that we're hiring, we posted and we're gonna be doing interviews over the next couple of days. It will be funded through this application fee. And the intent was that at least 50% of the application fee would cover off the position. It might be more than that now that we're adjusting the application fee. But the intent is that the application fee is covering those position hours, and that's how it will work. We will ensure that.
Okay, any further questions? Someone want to bring forth the motion on this matter? Councillor Shannon?
I move that council approves the amended application fee structure for applications to the town's rural renewal stream program as follows: $300 for applications for 1 to 4 employees positions, and $500 for applications for 5 to 10 employees positions.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion? It is carried. Thank you. Next up, we have the November 2nd regional meeting with CAO Miller. Addressing this one.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is just a simple briefing memo to just confirm with council that the regional collaboration meeting with our partners MDA Peace, Northern Sunrise County and County of Northern Lights has now been set for November 2nd from 4 to 8, and more information will come as we continue with our planning.
Thank you. Any questions on this matter? Perhaps someone would move this for information then? Councillor Good?
So moved.
Okay, thank you. Everybody understands the motion? All those in favor? It is carried. Thank you, CAO Miller. Next up, we have cold shot request for provincial funding lobbying support. I said that wrong. Provincial lobbying support, CAO Miller.
Thank you, Dan. So included in your package, agenda package, is a letter from Cold Shot seeking council support by way of a letter to advocacy letters to a number of persons. As I mentioned, they're in financial dire need of some assistance. They provide the only bus service we have in town currently, and we've already seen the ramifications of our diminished bus service. To lose it entirely would be devastating to our community. So they're just seeking a motion to support their advocacy efforts.
Any comments, councillors? Deputy Mayor?
I actually use Cold Shot for quite a bit of my freight at my place of employment, and I've been speaking with the lady that runs Cold Shot here in town, and she's also talking about hopefully getting some more, like a bus service running from Peace River to Grand Prairie, and also to help with some of these inmate release issues that we're having. So I think that's part of this. So that's just some comments that she had made to me.
Thank you. Any other comments, discussion points? Someone be prepared to move or bring forward a motion for this matter? Councillor Carr?
Like to make a motion that council send a letter to the Minister of Transportation and Economic Corridors in support of Cold Shot's request for provincial support.
Thank you. So if this goes forward, do copies go to our MLA and so on? Okay. Thank you. How about the other municipalities, some of the other municipalities in our area? Just because maybe they would, well, maybe they're already doing it. But- Okay, so any further discussion on Councillor Carr's motion? Yes.
Could we possibly also add the other minister that looks after the inmate release and corrections?
Thanks, Travis. So any further? Okay, that's okay with you, Mr. Carr? Okay, all those in favor of that motion? It is carried. Thank you, and good luck to Cold Shot. We don't wanna lose them entirely. And I should have spoken to this, but they refer to themselves as being a profit company, and that's why one of the reasons they were told they don't qualify for something or other. I don't know how Greyhound did it for so long then, because maybe it's different years, different whatever, but they certainly received subsidies, and we have the service as a result of those subsidies. But okay, next one is meeting with RCMP division during Alberta Municipalities Conference and CAO Miller.
Thank you. So this request for decision is regarding the AM conference in September 27th to 29th. Council is being given an opportunity to meet with or to request a meeting with commanding officers Blosky. Yeah, with the RCMP. So we're just looking for a motion if you're interested in meeting and what topics you'd like to present for discussion.
Okay, any discussion on this? If it goes forward, what are some of the topics we might bring up?
Last year when we met with them, they had promised us 2 more of those positions for the site nurse and their CMP. I forget what they're called. Crack. What's it? Crack. Crack. Yeah, they had promised that we would have 3 of those. As far as I know, we only have 1. So I'd like to know what happened to that.
So that topic, okay, and the whole idea. Anything further? Some other topics might come forth a little bit here, but yes.
Yeah, I think we were just talking about, and it's in here about the dismantling of homeless camps now, which can be quite a sensitive situation. So as much information and support on that would be helpful.
Okay, anything else that you may want to have a discussion about? Yes, we do. Okay, would someone be prepared to bring forth a motion on this matter at this point? Councilor Boychuk, what would your motion entail?
That I bring forth the motion that we set up a meeting with the K Division in Edmonton to discuss the topics listed and anything else that seems to come up in that conversation around community safety.
Okay, and during the 2023 Alberta Municipalities Conference?
That is correct. Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor? It is carried. Thank you. And it's nice to have this well ahead of the conference rather than just one meeting before or something like that. Next one. Okay, well, here's a familiar topic. Revised council remuneration, travel and expense policy. And CAO Miller is bringing forth this one.
Thank you, wish it. We hope that this will be the second last, my wish is this is the second last time the policy is being brought forward for discussion. So what we've done is kind of imported all of the changes that was discussed during the last meeting. And they're outlined there in the briefing memo. We added a couple of different things in particular. Oh, it's about the spouses. I'm not certain if that conversation was part of the last meeting. Or just, I think it was. Okay, good. Perfect. I've looked at this so many times. This time as well, I've added the rates and a little bit of communication around the rates for the expense for non-receipted expenses. I put those rates in this version. I put the rates in for the hourly rate for the per diem. So I just took the current hourly rate. I didn't change anything. I took the current hourly rate and imported that into this policy. So all that should be left after today, and what I hope after today's discussion would be everything is satisfactory in here, and then next discussion, we just have to present the monthly honorarium, which are just finalizing the calculations on, and just kind of looking back and to see how much time has been spent on things that will now be included, and particularly for the mayor. And so if we can agree to everything that's in here, then we'll bring back the monthly honorarium rates for the next discussion, and then that would be it. Council can decide on those rates, and then we will see the end of the policy.
Thank you. Okay. Who would like to bring our topic? Yeah.
Okay, why is our hourly per diem at $43? It's supposed to be 42.
It was increased by the 2.4% as per the policy that's in existence right now.
Okay, and the second thing, I can't support, I think it's number, let me just go back here. Disposal part. I don't think the word spouse or spousal belong in a remuneration policy. Spouse or whatever it may be, I just don't think it belongs here. It was mentioned that we would put that in there because they put up with a lot or something to that effect. And I think all of us here must have talked to our significant others before we took on this position. And I'm sure they were fine with whatever goes along with it. So I'm absolutely not comfortable having that in there about spouses. I don't think that should be in a remuneration policy. And I won't vote for that, but that's my two comments.
Section 6.4, I believe, is addresses that one. Anyone wish to comment on that? Councillor?
No, just another comment, under 3.2, remote attendance at meetings outlined in clauses 3.1A through C shall be compensated as follows. So it says, each member of council shall be allowed up to 2 unapproved remote meetings per term year. And it lists below that what would be considered allowable unless it's approved by the mayor or deputy mayor. I'm just considered about, like for instance, myself, I know Dawn and for Councillor Good and Councillor Scannahorn, and Councillor Boychuk all work jobs for a living, and sometimes you have to be out of town. So is your employment would that be allowed to be a like for instance, when I have to go to Fox Creek because of my employer, and if I've been able to reschedule or schedule those trips away from council meetings, but if I had to be at work because of and it was on a council meeting night, would that be allowed? Or would it be an exception?
So that would be for council to decision, right? I mean, now's the time to decide that.
So I would like to see that in there. It's not just for my benefit, but it would be for whoever's at around the council table.
So you're asking if you have a job that requires you to be out of town. And there happens to be a meeting of some sort. You want to Zoom in or whatever, and you're asking, is that allowed or not allowed? That's your question.
Well, I'd like to see a clause in there saying that would be an exception, just like where it says here, when a member of council, or where is it here? Where personal health conditions prevents a member of council from attending in person. So you can Teams in for a meeting like that and it's allowed, but would work be like your employer or your work be considered the same? Or could it be?
I think that's covered under line 4 there, you know, where if you talk to the mayor and say, I'm out of town due to work, that would be approved.
Well, you could ask, but not necessarily be approved.
I would say no in that if you're going for work, you're being compensated for your time already.
I kind of agree, but there again, my workout, like council meetings are at 5 o'clock. I don't work, I could be in a hotel room because I had to be out of town. So for work, so it's like me being here sitting at the chair right now. I'm not at work. But I am in town and able to attend. But if I'm out of town because of my employment, that's the reason why I asked the question.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in the end, like you can't choose your health condition, but you can choose your employment. I mean, you can work anywhere you want.
I wish that were true.
To a limited
Well-
extent.
Well, I mean, you can. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm just saying you can choose your health. So that's why the two are.
Okay, so up in A, we've got Councillor Shannon, go for it.
I don't think you should be penalized for having a job that takes you out of town. So I agree with Oren. I mean, if you're out of town and it's legitimate for your job, that's your job. I don't think you should be penalized because you have a job that takes you out of town. So I agree.
Councillor Good?
I mean, part of this was, part of this particular part of this discussion was around the idea of incentivizing people to be in attendance physically at council meeting. Now, I think that was the assumption. If you list all the exceptions here, snow, et cetera, so forth and so on, then you're given two freebies. I mean, basically, to some extent, you get rid of this whole clause of the attendance at meetings will be compensated at full rate because you're attending. And go on the judgment of people to behave properly or behave responsibly under the circumstances. I haven't personally seen, and I'm just speaking my own, I haven't personally seen people abusing this. I haven't seen people abusing it saying, well, it's frivolous for me, but I don't really want to come to this, so I'm going to zoom in from home or I'm going to zoom in on whatever. I have seen people, as a matter of fact, historically interrupt holidays. They're in Hawaii or something, they zoom in because they want to participate. To me, that's almost going over and above board when you do that on holidays. So, well, I think what I would almost prefer to see for a while, because we can always revisit the policy, is a statement that in-person participation is considered the kind of the goal. And we should endeavor to be in person as many times as we possibly can. And have a statement in there to make it clear what we think is the right thing. And then people can judge on their behavior. I don't know, that's just my feeling. I think to some extent, because now you said it's okay if it's really snowing out, and that's okay if you're sick or whatever. I don't know, I'm just getting a feeling some ways, to be honest with you, I think we had an okay policy to begin with. Like the first policy, and I'm gonna bring this up just because I feel it. And I say about freedom. The original remuneration policy we had, I don't think was a major issue, except in a couple of areas where people had some feelings about some certain things. We're sitting here spending a whole lot of time to try to, in my mind, to solve a very, very small problem. And we're trying to come up with something that's better than what we had. And what we had indexed it to what was around us. It wasn't a personal thing. I'm just going for more cash. It was, we thought people should, some of us disagreed with the amount. Fine, we can have that discussion. But for the most part, it covered everything. You came to council and said, I need to go to this meeting. Can I get your blessing to go? Fine, we had that. We have all kinds of stuff. Now we're getting into, here, there and everywhere. I'm just bringing that up. So, I mean, if we're gonna talk about this one, let's get rid of that whole thing and just put a statement in there. We think we should attend. We think we should attend in person. That's my feeling. But again, I don't really have a problem with the old policy because I think in a lot of ways it took care of an increase based on, cost of living because your other communities kind of give you the bracket. As long as you're reasonable within them, you're kind of reasonable by definition. That's my feeling. It allowed us to come to council and say, we've got this thing to go to, for example, and we really want to be there. Can you give me a hand getting there? We said, yeah, no problem. So on this one, I specifically, let's get rid of it, let's put in the statement, and then we can do whatever else we want. The rest of it, I'm sorry for blathering on. But I'm not really sorry for.
Just to be clear, you would have a statement that takes out 3.2 and states something like.
Takes out 3.2 and basically says attendance, physical attendance at meetings is preferred and promoted, etc. Counselors shall make all reasonable efforts to attend in person. Put the word reasonable in there. If somebody, if you find somebody dogging it, you can always call. That's it for you. It's
Other comments on this particular clause? Okay, a little bit of a straw vote here. How many would be in favor of removing 3.2 as it's written and putting in the suggestion from Councillor Good, which was physical attendance is preferred and councillors should
preferred and encourage council to make all reasonable efforts to attend in person.
Okay, I'm sure Ms. Parsons is getting this one. How many would prefer to remove 3.2 and add in Councillor Good's clause? Okay, opposed? Okay, that seems to be the will of the group. Remove 3.2 and add in the statement from that specified by Councillor Good. Any other ones that have come up? We might as well go to the 6.41 and have a discussion about that one. So spouses, partners, that's this set of clauses, conditions.
Well, I'll speak up. I spoke.
Yeah.
On this. I don't really have a problem with spouses and partners coming to a convention or whatever. And I don't even mind the additional expense to some extent. Because it's really only one or two events historically that have that. One of them is the Alberta Municipalities Convention, which is 3 or 4 days. So you're away from your family, you're away from everything else. Having your spouse there, I think, could be a reasonable thing, and I think it's a reasonable accommodation. It's not, to my mind, it's not gilding the calf. It's not plundering the hordes. I don't feel that way. Again, I also feel that, again, if there's any increase in a hotel room, for example, as I mentioned before, and I've been open about this, that if my wife wants to come with me, it's going to cost a couple of extra bucks to have the hotel bill for 2 of us, I'll pay that. I don't have a problem that being on my kicker. So I'm just saying what I feel, so.
So you're in favor of leaving?
I'm okay with leaving it there. You know, because I think it's reasonable, and I don't think we're talking about such a minuscule amount over a period of years. And it's not like for an overnight thing, it's generally like the AM convention could be 4 to 5 days, et cetera, so forth and so on. I think that's reasonable.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments on section 6.4? Okay, I'll go to straw vote again. Leave 6.4 there, or Councillor Shannon, you would remove it?
I would remove it.
Okay, so how many would like to have it left there? Taken away. Okay, it's straw vote says it gets taken away. Okay, any other questions, comments for clarification? I have a couple. Okay, under definitions and abbreviations on page 1, there's a definition for official capacity. So it says it means a member of council making a presentation, accepting an award, or representing the town in official capacity. Does not include council attendance or conferences or out of town events. Then I tried to find in here, and I probably just missed it, where it speaks to official capacity. Because it seems to me we had a discussion about, you know, if somebody goes to make a speech versus somebody goes to attend and not make a speech. But I could be wrong on that, so I'm just wondering where that flowed through the rest of the document. And maybe somebody's memories there. I guess it boils down to somebody making a speech, are they compensated on a hourly basis for that or not? Is I think where it would lead.
So
Otherwise, I
the
define
way I was structuring the honorarium at the moment was it assumed that the mayor attends, because it's always the mayor to give an official speech. So I was structuring the honorarium to reflect that, but then I would say if the deputy mayor needed to attend to give an official speech in the absence of the mayor, the deputy mayors would have to apply for an or claim an per diem, right? Because
Or
his,
any other counselor.
yes, or any of the other counselor, absolutely. These are their honorarium would reflect, because typically the official duties all come from the mayor and those kinds of events.
as long as we're solid on whatever it is we're meeting. So comments on this topic.
Is the deputy mayor's hourly, or pardon me, honorarium the same as every other counselor then, or is it more? In the new way,
That's a good question. I'm still working through things, so.
because if it was gonna be more, I would say then no. If it was going to be the same, I would say that yes, it would go hourly.
Right, exactly. I'm following your pattern.
What else was there here? Oh, on section 3.3. Hourly rate shall be claimed at a rate of $42 an hour with a minimum claim of 1 hour and to a maximum of 344. Maybe it should be slash per day there.
Page 4.
Thank you.
Over 4 years, 344 is very good. It is. Any further questions? Now is really the time to nitpick some stuff here. We're getting to the last opportunity. Anybody have a question about, well, what if I did this? Where would it go in the policy or something? Councillor Shannon.
My question is, for CEO Miller. So now your next step is, are you going to change our base salary? Is that gonna, when we get this back, is there gonna be a change in our base salary?
There will definitely be one, I would think, in Madam Mayor's, the mayor's honorarium. And I'm doing an evaluation right now to see if there should be any change but I think once we've carved everything out, I don't think there would be.
Any other questions that? We do not want to get to what the CA hopes will be the last meeting on this and somebody come up with the wonderful idea to start at the beginning. We've already spent quite a few meetings here,
This is number 5.
at the least. Okay, I heard a whisper about cell phones over there. Any question about cell phones?
I was just asking if that was a new part of our remuneration, the $600.
So I said there is currently some kind of policy or directive that speaks to cell phones, so I just kind of combined that into this one. But I'm not sure if it's being exercised at the moment, so I need to follow up to see if that policy is being exercised. That directive.
Section 5.3.
There is one in place right now.
But people haven't really used it for unknowing reasons.
Well, I'm not certain if. Yeah, if everybody's aware that it was there, so I'm not sure when the last time it was exercised. So I'm just trying to do some history on that, but it was around whether you wanted a cell phone assigned to you, or if you use your own personal, then there's an allowance currently that needs to be paid out.
I just kind of have a question on 6.3. Eligible and ineligible expenses. That, you know, we talk, all this stuff ahead of it was talking about, expenses for this and that reason. So this one then says additional expenses will be reimbursed for items related to education, personal development, convention registrations, out of town, travel and accommodation. Is that not already included in, I don't know, other sections? Or maybe I'm just on the wrong wavelength on
Something there. I don't know if this is all out of your professional development budget.
maybe that's where I'm not. Yeah, there's something right there. 6.3. I guess I'm wondering why we have to state that.
Because this is directly relating to 6 point. I feel like maybe the 6.3, it kind of flows from 6.1. I wonder if it's not better labeled as a subclause of 6.1, because that's all related to an expense, the professional development expense budget.
Any other thoughts on that?
Additional expense. I'm sorry, I guess I'm not following with the challenges. And sometimes maybe I just need to accept all the changes, because then it doesn't, you're trying to read the flow with all the changes. Maybe I just need to
Okay,
clean.
so as Councillor Scannell was saying, under 6, additional expenses, then 6.1 says expense budgets. At the start of each term and annually thereafter, the mayor and each council will be allocated a professional development budget for additional expenditures deemed eligible for reimbursement. So getting additional professional development budget. Then down in 6.3, it says eligible and ineligible expenses. So additional expenses will be reimbursed for items related to education, personal or professional development.
So that would be from the expense budget.
Okay,
But conventions and registration, say, so for example, if I was going out of town on town business to attend a thing and I put my hotel on my credit card, I could claim that, but that doesn't necessarily come out of my PD budget if I'm going as, like, say I'm going to NAEL and it's in Grand Prairie.
okay, is that the interpretation of PD?
But that would not,
The
that would not
PD.
be, that would be regular duties.
Okay, so.
NAEL would be regular duties.
No.
Yeah, for you it is.
Okay, it is.
Because you're, I mean, that's a committee or that you attend, right?
But
Yeah.
it's out of
Yeah.
town, so those expenses will apply, because you're not doing.
They don't come out of your personal professional development budget, because your personal professional development budget is for you to say, I would like to go take public speaking, because I would like to do
More of it.
comedy during part of it, right?
Yeah.
So I'd like to take comedy writing, so that would be your professional, personal development budget.
Okay.
And then additional expenses, so maybe the convention registration is part, but additional expenses might be because you bought coffee on the way there, or you had to buy your lunch. Convention didn't include it, or that training class, that would be additional expenses related to convention.
Okay, I'm getting it now. Okay. So now I have a question on section 2.9. All per diem and hourly rate claims shall be submitted monthly for the previous month's activities. So are we creating an administrative challenge here in terms of it? I'll submit it monthly. Okay, so here's my June. Is the intent that I submitted by the end of July, is that the intent? Or I submitted, I don't know, sometime in December. I'm submitting it monthly, but
We want the month because you get paid monthly, right? But we didn't really want it like the 20th of the month. We would prefer that it covers the entire month.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I had originally put the 5th of the month. I think there was some thought that there might be a bit of a challenge to meet the 5th. But ideally, we would like the full month's coverage, because then that's gonna avoid duplication. You know, accidentally putting a June on a July, or, you know what I mean, event.
so we want expenses recorded on a calendar month basis, and we would like the expense claim turned in.
No, I'm okay with this. No, let's clarify this, sorry. Per diems, we would like once a month. It's payroll. Per diems are payroll, and payroll for council, it only occurs once a month. The expenses, you're free to hand in the expenses, you incur it. You go on a convention, you don't have to wait for a full month to be reimbursed for your convention expense.
So
Expenses.
would people then be turning in more than one if they go to, I don't know, 2 conventions and something else? Would they
That's
possibly
Yeah,
do 3?
because expenses are all supported by receipt, right?
Mhm.
So there's not a possibility of submitting a claim for an expense erroneously twice, because you wouldn't have the original receipt to attach to your expense. So, and really, we don't want you to make a full month, because if you put it on your personal Visa card, if you miss that cutoff, you could end up having to fund it yourself to pay your bill off, right? Or pay interest if you only submitted your expenses once a month. So you're free to submit an expense claim more frequently than once a month, but your per diem for your hourly rates only monthly, and we would like it to encapsulate the entire months. So,
So the mayor and deputy would not be coming in to sign those off too often? They could have a routine.
yeah, I know we had a weekly meeting, so we would just put those in the folder next time. But they run expenses and check runs every week out of accounts payable, right?
I get you, it was just different trail of thought on that one. Okay, I had my conversation, Councilor Good.
Just a quick one. Well, for most conventions and stuff, my memory is that the town books, for most conventions, the
Yes.
town books the rooms, the town books everything and pays for it on their Visa card, if my memory is correct. So you're not gonna be paying for a convention on a town in most cases, because if it's an authorized convention, you can call it. registration, say, huh?
Or whatever.
Yeah, those things. for
Those
sure,
things
but
would be,
It's not the convention itself.
But you are with your personal professional development budget, you may do your own registration on some things. So if you wanna take, I said, if you wanna take speech writing, for example, or you wanna take,
But would there be any issue if it was an okay thing to go to administration saying, I want to go down to this, can you book it?
no, there's no problem with that, but you may choose to
Yeah,
just
you may
book it
choose to.
yourself.
Fair enough.
There's nothing like, just so everybody understands, administration does not have to do your registrations, right? That's,
I understand.
yeah, so there may be times you want to claim your own.
Maybe I want to use my own loyalty card so I get the air miles.
That's a different topic.
Oh, okay, well, we'll pretend I never said it then. I've got a question. Yeah, let's say I'm away for the month, I don't get my timesheet in for 1 month. Would it be better than, instead of putting 2 months in one timesheet, to submit 2 timesheets for 2 separate months, but in one on the same day? So let's say at the end of August, I submit June and July, but they're on separate sheets.
Times, yes, yes.
That's preferable,
Yes.
and that saves, but your main concern is
Don't
duplication.
get me wrong, I would prefer, and I'm gonna harass you if you don't submit it monthly.
That only
Yes.
works if I hate the harassing. If I like the harassing, I'll just do it more.
So is there any advantage to saying you must submit within 2 months of the expense or something?
Oh, the expense.
Well, whatever it is, we're handing in a form to, like, I don't know. I prefer something that has a deadline, so I know that work backwards from the deadline if I need to. Or, you know, if somebody doesn't submit it to the end of the year in one giant wad, under this, I think they could do that. Could they not?
Well, I'll be honest with you, that's happened.
I realize it's happened.
Really
yeah.
cruel Christmas.
Mhm. Yeah, that's why I think this one has 45 days or something, the one we're presently on. So anybody else, have a concern that way? I'll let you know right now, if this is the mayor and you're doing that, I am not coming in on December 24th just for you to get something signed. I'm not. Maybe the deputy will, but I'm not.
He can only do that for you.
No. Anyways, okay, so we might be finally coming to a conclusion on this topic, well, at least today. Anything further somebody would like to bring forth? This would be opportune time. Finally coming,
The echo.
maybe somebody would like. No question, okay, would someone like to bring forth a motion to finish off the topic?
Thank you, Your Worship. I put a motion on the floor that council direct administration to bring forward the revised council remuneration, travel and expense policy as amended, with the addition of council honorarium values to the next council meeting.
Thank you. Okay, all those in favor of that? Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, admin, for following the discussion. Okay, now we're into reports. We've got the Economic Development Committee meeting of July 11th. And who attended this one? Councillor Shannon, anything you'd like to highlight?
Our second annual job fair has been booked for September. That was exciting. We had such a good response last time that we're hoping to have even more businesses.
Has there been a follow-up as to the success of, I don't know, either the employer getting people to work for them or the job applicant actually getting a job? You know, has there been some stats on that?
I think they're still collecting that.
Takes a while. Okay, anything further somebody would like to ask about that report?
I have a quick question.
Yep.
Can you give us an update on what Brandon was talking about a detox center or a rehab or?
No, he just mentioned that someone had approached him and had wanted to give a testimonial. But I mean, how can you give a testimonial if you don't even know what the project is? Plus, he wouldn't be the one to give the testimonial, it would come from the mayor. So that was all with that. There's actually several, or not several, but he knew of one and I knew of a group too. They're thinking of addiction centers but it's at a very, very beginning concept stage.
Takes a lot of work to ensure basic success around the concept, right? And lots of resources in place at the beginning of things too. Okay, any further questions though? Looks like it was quite a meeting. Okay, would someone like to accept report 9-1 for information? Counselor Good does that. All those in favor? It is carried. Information, we have council communication packages of July 7th and 14th. Is there any thing that somebody wants to highlight? See, we've got correspondence from Northern Sunrise about the fires, the Peace River registries, a couple of them back and forth perhaps. Treaty 8, First Nations. Some people here attended the Woodlands Treaty Days, and I attended the Treaty 8 First Nations on the Monday. I found them all very interesting, and the infrastructure that they're building out there to be able to hold these events and just events throughout the year is quite interesting.
I'd like to speak on that. The treaty days that we attended is one of the of all the events I've attended in the number of years of the council, that is one of the best events and the best organized events. So it's 2 years running. It's a phenomenal event, and in discussions with people out there, anybody from Peace River is welcome to go out there during treaty days and take part in it and learn about culture and have a good time and meet people. It's tremendously welcoming environment. I can't go on. I can't really say enough about what a great time we had out there, and the amount of fun, the amount of laughter, just really, really good times. And meeting, I put a post up because you met the friends we met out there that we knew, and then the new friends you make while you're doing it, the people you meet, it was just hands down just one awesome place to be. Well, go ahead.
Do you mind if I bring your age into it?
Please do.
Okay, so Councilor Good and I pull up and they look in the window of the vehicle at me and they look at him and they say, "Are you an elder?" Well, we're not anyone's elder up there. I'm certainly not. And what I understand, Councilor Good is also no one's elder, but he is an elder. And so we got to park in the elders parking spot because my passenger that was with me, and they provided a golf cart and went down to the events area because Councilor Good is an elder.
Yeah, I was able to compete in the elder games.
So Councilor Good is throwing knives and axes and shooting bows and hitting golf balls at pins out in the middle of the ball diamonds and.
How do you
I'd
think
say
you do
there's kind of a little bit of pride. We're walking back and Byron is my witness, this really happened. The fellow says, "Don, you've got to come over here." Why? You're in contention for 3rd place in Axville. Now, I'm going to leave the story as it is, but I will tell you it's not quite the accomplishment that you could think it is. But that's what I'm saying. It was such a wonderful time, and the graciousness of the people, and the fact that if anybody else is ever considering doing something on a wonderful weekend, you could do a lot worse than heading out to Treaty Days and joining the community out there. They have a fantastic community and a great time.
Oh, yeah, you could go without $1 and you get breakfast, you'll get lunch, you can participate in games. Now, if you bring a few dollars, you can also enter door prizes and food trucks and all those other things, but all it takes is the gas money to get there.
Well, it's very good learning experience as well for our strategic plan. It comes into being in all sorts of ways. And yes, they were very gracious hosts. Okay, anything further on the communication package? Okay, would someone move to accept item 10-1 for information? Councillor Carson moves. All those in favor? Do we have any notices of motion?
Your worship, thank you.
Comments from the public?
I can't click on the link to those information packs. I tried on my computer, it's not working. I'm trying now.
Oh, you have to go through DocuShare. No, it's not DocuShare. That's at my other. The copy of the communications package is not. Go, okay.
So if you're trying to click on the links within the PDF, that's not possible, just the way that the documents are set up. But I hyperlinked the 2 dates, so you'll see council communication package dash July 7 and July 14. So if you use those hyperlinks, it'll take you to the actual agenda package where of that communication package where you can access it and click on the links. Does that make, does
Yeah,
that?
I was clicking on the July 7th, 2023 and the July 14th, 2022.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to.
Oh, and they're not working.
No, they weren't working on my work computer either.
Works when I do it.
Yeah, they work for me too. I'm not sure
Oh.
why.
I'll try again.
Sorry about that. Email me if it doesn't. We'll figure it out.
Thanks.
Okay, so a little technology. Item 13, key communication items. Counselors, what would you put forth as key communication from this meeting?
Our K division and addressing some of these issues that we have going on down in downtown and stuff.
Okay, meeting with K Division in at AM's convention, Counselor Shannon?
I'd also say the cold shot, lobbying for the cold shot for transportation up here, because that's actually really relevant to our situation.
Okay, any others? Sequa? Any others? They're also good. Okay, so we can go from there and add on as needs be. Thank you. Okay, counselors, is it your wish to have a break or go right into closed session? Maybe it's closed. Okay, let's be back here at 6:45, 5 minutes.
Hey, don't forget, we're still live till I make it over to the computer. Yes.
Oh, you walked by me, I'm like.
See you.
Damien.
Right, that's something you can, I can't even imagine, I can't.